What's good, traders? It's Darnell Price. Welcome to another episode of Momentum Movers. This is the Wednesday weekend video. You might ask, why do I have a pillow on my head? You gotta forgive me. It's a very practical purpose. Without it, you would have a big light flare when I'm recording. It's usually I use the ambient light from outside, but it's early morning, it's still dark, and the sun's not up. So we're gonna go with what we got so that I could go ahead and get this Wednesday video out. So, off the rip, since Sunday, we in the last 42 hours, we've met a good deal of my weekly projections on where I felt the NASDAQ and gold should go. Right, gold did have the short close to that, on the top of that balance range. We'll get into that later. NQ went ahead and sold off to 21K yesterday. We'll get into that later. We'll get into, what are we bullish now? Should we be looking for higher prices? Are we neutral, or should we be looking for lower cases? I'll make my case as to, what I feel. And why it is on NQ, I feel like the 21,400 to 21,600 range is probably the most important level going forward, looking for that breakdown of 21,250s. We'll get into that right now, as a matter of fact. Sit back, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button, leave comments down below if you agree with anything I said or didn't say, and let's get right into it. Good deal. So, starting off with NQ, when we left off Sunday, we were here looking at the previous Friday's price action, how previous Sunday, how we were in the balance, broke down Friday, and we, broke significant diagonal support to close the week in the midpoint of pre-existing long-term balance that goes back to was first entered into back in July of last year, right? We firmly entered into it in November though, but that's the balance range we're currently in. So being that this price action is I do want to keep those two down there because that's the objective, right? 27.63 to displace below those equal lows. But as far as everything else, I think it's just cluttering up the chart. So give me a second, I'm gonna get rid of this. These circles were denoting liquidity below some higher lows. Should we choose to continue this sell-off, the direction would be lower, as we do have a significant amount of liquidity below these relatively equal lows that we put in around 20,763, right? As far as where we are right now, we could so we know that I am bearish, right? That's what that arrow was for. We could take the bull case off because as far as as I could see, that's no longer on the table after staying down here at the beginning of the week. I think it'd take it, and it can happen, anything can happen. We can, on the back of NVIDIA earnings, pop back inside of last week's balance range, right? But as far as the cases that I'm gonna entertain as far as actionable trades, if you look at it, as bearish as this move has been, in the grand scheme of things, it is, for all intents and purposes, still neutral, right? We can chop inside of this wide range, denoted by 21K even, 21,009. We hit that level to the tick too. That was my level from the Sunday weekend recap and forecast, right? That, we hit that. I was like, the balance range really goes down to 763, but I would start lightening up around 21K even, exactly 21K9, right? Where all these wicks tested prior. But getting back into current price action, we could range inside of this range, even though we've had this bearish move like we've done in the past, right? Looking at what we did in the past during this range is key to seeing what's possible in the future. So bouncing up from here and going all the way up to 21,965 is, let me say that again, 21,965. is possible and would just be neutral. I wouldn't be bullish until we got up and over last week's range. So I'm still entertaining the bear case for now. My bear case isn't invalidated, so we could go as high as, say, 21,500. I'd give it a little bit more room. These 750s up here, that's also a level. We may get there on the Nvidia earnings. We may get there, like I say, today is Wednesday. We could get there during the New York session if, you know, the right headlines and things happen. We have this yellow caution zone right below 400. Ideally, if we're gonna stay bearish, we stay, you know, between 21,400 and what is that level up there? I think I wrote it in the past. But oh yeah, 21.4 and 21.6 in that general area, we would stay there. If I just switch over to momentum to see, all right, so here's NASDAQ on the daily, right? And we'll clean up the weekly levels chart. I should have started with momentum. I apologize. I'm trying to get my format down on how I'm gonna do these so that I could do them the same every week for the Wednesday and the Saturday. So forgive me while I work through the kinks. However, you know, we did find that significant support on the daily, momentum support, right? We were up here, we dropped off. This is Monday's candle, Tuesday's candle. Right now, Wednesday, we're pretty much inside of an inside day, and that speaks to as to what I'm expecting for today. Staying below 400, which would be the close of the candle on Monday the 24th, right? If we could remain below 400 and put in a lower high there, we may even wick up to the 600. So again, between 400 and 600, I think that would be where if I was bearish and wanted to initiate a new short position, I would just scalp down here. But the cheapest are the most probable shorts come right around 600, but definitely above 400, right? We can have a bit of a reflex bounce, considering that we have tagged a significant support level where upside moves have been generated in the past, right? So don't be surprised if we do see some upward motion today. Like I say, we could go all the way up to, I can't remember the level, 21,900s, I think, and still be neutral, not even bullish, right? So we could be in a sideways chop, fill out. If you look at this chart and you just look at it, you look at 400, we have not filled in a lot of volume in this area, right? We could still be bearish and go sideways and be neutral. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I'm just saying, you know, be nimble. If you're bearish, don't just keep shorting because it has to go down. It doesn't have to go down from right now. And if you're bullish, don't get overly excited if we start going up, because there's significant resistance above us and you could immediately get what you think is just a pullback to buy that keeps on dipping, right? We're neutral in between 21K and 21K 900. That 1,000-point range pretty much. NQ is neutral. Dropping down to a 4-hour time frame chart, see what we can see there. Again, off the rip, I'm noticing that we are at support. We have resistance around the 21,650s. Again, between 650 and 400, I would watch that level. Let's see what we have on the 1 hour. The 1 hour is slightly neutral to bullish. If we start making price action above 21,356, currently these are moving averages, so they do move over time, especially the lower time frame ones. So right now around 21,400, I would add 50 points to that. 21,400 to 21,600, I would just watch out for that level. Getting into today's price action, what's possible today, this is a bit bearish if we break down below 21,240. If we get below 21,240, I may consider, you know, shorting, because you could keep a pretty tight stop, knowing that if we get above 21,350 again, right below those 400s, you know, that's where things could get neutral to slightly bullish, right? So like right here, right now, if I was in a trade, I'd probably be looking for a scalp short. Maybe I'd go in kind of decent and lighten up on the way down, hoping to leave a runner below 21,240. Because this is one of my setups. It's not an A+ setup. I probably shouldn't even be mentioning it. It's a quick way to get cooked as well. But yeah, in the immediate term, I am pretty bearish on the short-term price action. And when you just consider where we are on the high time frame, like we can sell off. So, you know, while I say we don't have to go down, this bit of green inside candle price action we put in could just be the upper wick on what will be a pretty decent downside candle going to 2,800, right? That is still on the table, especially when I consider how things are looking on the smaller time frames. And I think that's pretty much the thesis of this move. Let's get back to the levels chart. All right, so here we are on the 4 hour, right? We have 21,400 in play. There's your 21,250s, right? So this is the range. If I were to clean this up a bit, I could probably move where I would like to take a short down to here, right? 21,400 would be a excellent short. I think between 21,400 and 21,600, I should leave it where it was. However, I would entertain the and I'm not so neutral. We'll keep that there. I think everything is as it should be right here on this chart. There's not much to adjust. I would just pay more attention to what happens in between 21,400 and 21,253, right? These two levels here are the most important levels for the day, this range. That's where I would, you know, I would take the breakout. I wouldn't take the breakout to the upside, but if we start losing 21,253, I would start entertaining the short down to 20,763, right? And I think that would be the trade I would look for. Going above 400, yeah, we could go to 600 to 750, all the way up to 900. However, I don't feel like that's, considering all the turbulence in the price action there, I don't think that'll be a quick, swift move. The move to the downside if I had to choose between the two, that one would be easier. I'll put these levels at the end of the video. I apologize for yapping through that, but this is how, if I would, you know, when I'm doing my pre-market prep, how I think about the game plan, you know, to develop a bias of what I'm looking for, right? The bull case, the bear case, which one is more probable and which one I would like to trade, and how I would like to get in and execute in such a way that if I'm executing right and being disciplined, I have great levels to limit risk, get a real tight stop loss, and I have actionable targets that are realistic and inside of, you know, what would be the range of the day, right? Let's take a look at gold. I think I beat that horse, you know, a bit. So on gold on Sunday, we were looking at this, and I want to say that I was considering my trade idea was pretty much a short from the top of this box, risking, it was this high, yeah, it was this high over here, risking this high on, I think on a mini, it was about $400, risking $400, and the target was, well, you know, I had targets down here, but I was, you know, to stay conservative, I said the bottom of the box, which, you know, that objective was met. And I was talking about how I think gold is going much lower to the 800s. I still think that is also on the table. If we switch down, so just looking at the pathing, the bull case, again, we could take that off the table. And we're also not neutral, right? So these levels up here, while they're still relevant, I don't think that we'll be visiting them, you know, maybe this one right here, the bottom of the range, that would be a good place to re-enter short, maybe on the wick inside. If we get above the 50% of that prior range, I think shorts are off the table. Is that where I got the 600 from? You know, this is the top of the range. This was an extreme target if we broke all-time highs. All right, so yeah, these are, yeah, I remember how it was now. But the pathing that I'm interested in, even though I am, and don't get me wrong, while I have downside targets on gold, I am extremely bullish on the high time frame when we get above the daily. So when you consider the daily and the weekly and the monthly, gold is extremely bullish. And let's take a look at that real quick while we're talking about it. Let's take a look at gold. So if we visit gold on a daily, there is nothing bearish about this chart. It's just a matter that it could pull back significantly and still be bearish, right? That's different from something being bearish. It's so bullish that it could afford a higher time frame pullback and still be bullish, right? And so that's what I mean by, I think we do have further downside. We can get inside of the 2800s. We could get firmly inside of the 2800s on the wick, getting all the way down to 20. I don't think we get below 2800, but the cheapest short comes between 2800 even and 2826, right? But getting down to 2862, I don't feel that would be impossible. I think it'd be probable even. That would be bullish for it to go lower. That would be a bullish pullback if we got at minimum down to 2862, 2863, and then started our next leg up from there. I won't get bearish until we're under and building structure below 2800. That's where I am now. This has not been a move. You know, even when it has downside price action, it hasn't been an easy short, right? It's always being bought back up. On the monthly, it's extremely bullish, right? Like, you know, we could by the end of the year be looking at 4K, 3K, 4K, somewhere up in there. On the weekly, it could go sideways, right? We could have a decent couple red candles in a row this week, next week, and the other. And, you know, we may even have get below 2800 on the wick. And we talked about the daily, right? I do think we could pull back here. I'm looking for targets as low as 28. However, taking the trade to 2864, and then lightening up there and moving into a scalp strategy would probably be best. Let's move down to the 4 hour, and I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys get out of here. I do tend to yap, so forgive me on that. But as far as the most probable or the best short, you know, in my opinion, the cheapest short, it comes from 2840, 2841, and just looking at the hourly, yeah, so 2841. If we get much above that, that's where I would be starting to. Again, I am bullish on gold. However, if we got above, and there's that level again. So if we get inside of last week's range, I think that's the most important level. If I had to pick levels that were important on gold, it's just 28,400s. Taking shorts is close to 2941. I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm thinking. It's early morning where I am. I'm just trying to get the midweek video out. So I apologize, but 29,441.4 is probably the most important level on gold. I think that's the cheapest short, and from there, if you did get a decent short from there, you could probably hold to 2,800 even, right? So that's like a 140 point move on gold. That's possible if we can get up to 2941. But yeah, that's what I see in gold. Is there anything else to recap or forecast? We do, again, keep in mind, we do have Nvidia earnings after the close. And as far as eco news this week, I'm all the way back in February, at the beginning of February. All right, yeah. So GDP comes out. That's tomorrow. We really don't have any red folder events today. It's a light. So yeah, we could melt up today. Actually, it's a light news day today. Nvidia earnings after the close, followed by kicking off tomorrow morning. We have GDP, and Friday we have PCE. I think the spicy price action will happen after Nvidia earnings. Today may be a bit of a lull. We could balance sideways. Probably have a slight upside balance on the day. So you know, today is a good day not to trade. Probably just wait until after Nvidia earnings, and then from there, I think, you know, with how much of a weight Nvidia is on the indices, you know, weighting or whatever, like it's part of the Dow, the S&P, and the Nasdaq, and it's a decent component of all three. Whichever way these earnings go will be telling for the direction of the market. Not to mention, starting, you know, the beginning of next month, March, I think it's March 1st, March 4th, one of those days. Our head of state, you know, the China tariffs, they kicking in effect. So there's a lot of headwinds coming into, you know, any bullish price action. I think we could be setting up for a downturn. Not only do we have, you know, suggestions of that in the technicals, like when you look on the high time frame, we also have the fundamental narrative shifting to more FUD and bearish price action, right? But yeah, that's it for me. I want to thank you guys for spending time with me. If you found anything interesting in this video, go ahead, like and subscribe. One of these is the one I'm supposed to be on. Yeah, like and subscribe. The levels that I'm looking for the rest of the week that I think will be important, you know, my over-unders and the Rubicon, I'm gonna go ahead and put here or here. I keep saying that, but they'll go here, and we'll see how, like I say, anything could happen, but we'll see how the rest of the week reacts to, you know, market dynamics. In any case, like I say, please like and subscribe. That's very important to me. It does motivate me, you know, feeling like, you know, I am talking to somebody other than myself when I make these videos. And I do want to grow the community and the platform as far as, you know, momentum movers with Darnell Price. Anyway, I've rambled enough. I'm the Yap King. Yeah, trade well, trade smart, trade on. Darnell Price out.